When most people think of Orlando, they picture theme parks. But for me, Orlando has always looked like this. Lake Eola has been part of my life for as long as I can remember. Long before I knew anything about its history, this was simply where life happened. As a teenager, my mom used to bring me here to walk around the lake for exercise. Years later, as a single mom myself, I found myself bringing my son here for reasons I didn't fully appreciate until much later. And maybe that's fitting, because the heart of Orlando itself began with something collapsing beneath the ground. Before there was a park, before there was a fountain, before there were swans, there was simply a sinkhole. Like much of Florida, the limestone beneath this area was slowly dissolved by groundwater for centuries. Eventually, the ground gave way, creating a massive depression that filled with rainwater and the aquifer below. What looked like a disaster slowly became something beautiful. Early settlers even called it Sandy Beach, because during dry seasons, a sandy shoreline would appear along the eastern edge of the lake. At the time, the land belonged to one of Florida's most influential early settlers, Jacob Summerlin, better known as the Cattle King of Florida. To him, it was simply a convenient watering hole for his enormous cattle herds. But Summerlin believed Orlando could become something much greater. In 1883, he offered to donate the land surrounding the lake to the city, with conditions. The city had to build roads, plant trees, and permanently maintain it as a public park. If they ever failed to care for it or tried to sell it, his family could legally reclaim the land through what's known as a reverter clause. That single decision protected Lake Eola for generations. The park officially became public in 1888. It's funny, when my mom brought me here as a teenager, I never thought much about why we came. She was trying to lose weight, so we'd walk laps around the lake together. During the holidays, my high school chorus even performed concerts here. Back then, Lake Eola was simply somewhere we enjoyed spending time together. Years later, without really thinking about it, I started bringing my own son here. Sometimes we'd stop after visiting my great uncle in a nursing home downtown. He had Down syndrome and couldn't care for himself. So after my parents moved to Puerto Rico, we would visit him and pick up his laundry each week to take it home and wash it. Those visits were hard. Nursing homes have a way of reminding you that time is moving forward, whether you're ready or not. So afterward, I'd bring my son here. We'd walk around the lake, watch the swans, enjoy the fountain. Sometimes all you need is somewhere that makes heavy days feel a little lighter. I didn't realize until years later that my mom and I had been doing the exact same thing. Different reasons, same place. For all its history, nobody actually knows exactly where the name Lake Eola came from. One story says Jacob Summerlin's son named it after a fiancé who tragically died before their wedding. It's a beautiful story. Unfortunately, historical records show he married someone else, making that version almost certainly a legend. Another story claims the Summerlin brothers simply named it after a young woman they both knew. And a third possibility is even simpler. The woman may have actually been named Eola, and someone accidentally misspelled it on an early map. Whatever the truth may be, The mystery has become part of Lake Eola's story. For decades, the lake itself was the attraction. Then came the fountain. The first fountain appeared in 1912, but the one everyone recognizes today was inspired by banker and veteran Linton E. Allen after seeing grand European fountains during his travels. Construction wasn't easy. Engineers discovered the deepest part of the sinkhole sat directly in the middle of the lake, forcing them to build the fountain slightly off-center. More than 300 tons of concrete had to be barged into the lake just to build its foundation. When it debuted in 1957, crowds gathered to watch water shoot 75 feet into the air beneath colorful lights. It instantly became Orlando's symbol. Long before I knew any of that history, the fountain simply meant we'd arrived. It was always the centerpiece of our visits. Funny how certain landmarks become part of your memories long before you know their stories. In 2009, lightning struck the fountain, destroying its systems. Rather than let it fade away, Orlando invested more than $1.6 million restoring and modernizing it. Today, it still performs nightly light shows that continue to define the city's skyline. Of course, you can't talk about Lake Eola without talking about the swans. They aren't native here. They arrived in 1922 after what can only be described as a swan feud. An Englishman raising several breeds on nearby Lake Lucerne decided two groups simply weren't getting along, so one flock was relocated here. Apparently, they liked the neighborhood. Over the decades, the city carefully cared for multiple species of swans, making them one of Orlando's most recognizable traditions. The famous swan paddle boats naturally followed. Unfortunately, recent outbreaks of avian flu forced the city to temporarily suspend its managed swan program in 2026, while the birds were relocated for their safety. Wild birds will still visit, but for now, one of Lake Eola's oldest traditions is quietly taking a pause. Lake Eola has always been more than a place to walk. Over the years, it's been home to horse racing, swimming, tennis courts, one of Orlando's earliest zoos, concerts, festivals, and community celebrations. Today, you'll also find reminders that Orlando's story reaches far beyond Florida. There's the beautiful Chinese Ting Pavilion, assembled piece by piece after arriving from Shanghai. Nearby sits a massive black marble stone gifted by Orlando's sister city in Taiwan. The Walt Disney Amphitheater has hosted countless performances, and after the Pulse tragedy in 2016 became a powerful symbol of love and resilience when its iconic rings were painted in pride colors. Even the park itself continues to change. The Confederate monument that stood here for nearly a century was relocated in 2017 after years of community discussion, reflecting how every generation leaves its own mark on this place, just like every generation before it. Today, the city is preparing another round of improvements that will carry Lake Eola into its next century. Walking paths will change, entrances will change. Even the park itself will continue evolving. But I hope one thing never changes. I hope there's always a place where people can come when life gets heavy. My mom brought me here. Years later, I brought my son here. Neither of us came because we knew the history. We came because this place somehow made difficult days feel a little easier. Only later did I learn that Orlando's heart began with a collapse beneath the ground. Somehow, that feels fitting. Because sometimes the places born from broken beginnings become the places people return to when they need healing the most. If you've ever visited Lake Eola, I'd love to hear your favorite memory in the comments below. And if you enjoy discovering the stories hiding behind the places we visit, be sure to subscribe and join me as we continue exploring the history that makes travel personal. Until next time, I'll see you on the next adventure.